All right, now with us, Will McInnes from Brandwatch.
Hi.
Hi, you just gave a tremendous keynote speech here in Zurich.
Thank you.
And the audience, of course, wants to know what was the core of it. So you mentioned like 6 main topics or trends. So the digital pulse and the digital ecosystem from your perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the bottom line is we're living in incredible times where science fiction is a reality. And I feel like the number one thing is we need to stop leaving the changes at home. We need to bring them to work, because the reality is we're communicating in more visual ways. We have this voice layer now, we have self-driving cars, and we have to, as a marketing community, evolve, and we need to bring that into the work that we do. That's the number one thing, really.
And you mentioned a very interesting thing in my eyes. You mentioned that politicians and parties are losing traction. We're living in an age of alternative facts. So brands have a much more important role. Can you share some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, from a macro point of view, I think what we've seen is the number of people working as journalists has declined steadily, year on year, decade on decade. So publishing is struggling to hold the state and politics to account, and we see that very powerful political decisions are being made at the moment with Brexit, with Trump, with the rise of polarized and right-wing movements. And what has changed over the last 50 years is you now have very powerful brands who are publishers themselves, and I feel like there is an ethical a must-have, which is we as marketers have to speak to the environment that our consumers and stakeholders are living in, and we cannot just quietly ignore the challenges.
Closing question, you mentioned the eyeballs. Like, going back to the roots, it's again about eyeballs. It's not so much about targeting and programmatic things. Why is that?
It's a great question and a challenge for us as marketers, and not one I love to talk about because it's uncomfortable, but the bottom line is that's what the science shows, that's what the research shows, and we either need to challenge that science and prove that we can do better with targeting, or we need to open our minds and say, well, maybe it is just about share of voice, but what are the smart, intelligent, digital ways I can get more share of voice for my challenger brand or my big, boring corporation?
Thank you so much. We'll let you rush off and see you next time, I hope.
Thank you very much.